Parce que parler, c'est partager, et partager, c'est apprendre et évoluer. Ici, on dit tout. On partage nos expériences, nos ressentis, nos réflexions. Toi, femme ambitieuse qui porte 1000 casquettes et qui chaque jour contribue à changer le monde un petit peu à la fois. Je suis Anen, maman de 3 enfants et entrepreneur, et je t'invite à rejoindre Speak Up Rise Up, un espace pour avancer ensemble, pour s'inspirer, se soutenir et grandir. Bienvenue dans Speak Up Rise Up.
Finally, Barbara, we were planning for this interview for so long, and finally you're here. Can you tell us more about you and how do you introduce yourself for people who doesn't know you yet?
Mhm. Well, my name is Barbara Joshua. I have a bit of a different upbringing because I was born and raised in South Africa. So I did all my schooling there and then came to the university in Austria. So I've got a dual citizenship, Austrian and South African, which is great because I'm very cosmopolitan in that way already from my origin. I am, from a professional point of view, I am a management consultant now for nearly 30 years. So I've been doing this for quite some time. First, I started in one of the big fours with KPMG Consulting. Then I became a partner in an Austrian consulting company that had approximately 150 people. And I founded my own company in Joshua Consulting in 2010. 2010 it was, yeah. And why did I find this company? Because I became a mother a few years before that for the first time, and then the second time during this founding procedure. And it was more flexible to work in that way, because consulting can be really tough at times, from the timelines and so on. So I was very flexible in that way. My expertise is in financial accounting, so that would be everything to do with starting with your planning procedures and your structures for the performance of the company, and also budgeting and KPI reporting and so on. So all the number crunching parts, but I always had an idea to already incorporate HR a lot. So we planned like a strategic planning tool for many years in that area, and that's how I got into this whole thing. Then in 2019, I parallelly co-founded Up and Change, which is a company, e-platform for developing skills in the area of collaboration and resilience. I did this with my founding partner, Gabriele Lang and Peter Chabala. I think Gabriele was on your podcast already. Yeah, right. So,
Thank you.
so you probably might know her already. And why did I do that? Because I believe that numbers are really sexy, but you have to combine that with the emotional intelligence and the possibilities for people to transform their business in that way. Yeah. So that's why I do that.
Yeah, and
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And not to forget, I'm a mother of 2 children, 2 boys. They are 13 and 18. I love them to bits.
Very
Hap
important.
Happily married for over 20 years already. And yes, I have a very positive outlook in life because I believe, even if everything around you is not so brilliant, you can still make the best out of it. And if with a positive outlook, we will manage that together.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So, what bring you to management? What was, the calling
Oh,
from the beginning?
that is really strange. Actually, when I came to Austria, I either wanted to study microbiology or economics, just
Okay.
interest sake, you know.
Mhm.
And then I met my then boyfriend, and he said, "Barbara, microbiology, you sitting in a room speaking only to the little laboratory instruments, I don't think that will work." And I always had a knack for numbers, and I loved working with people, so I looked at that, and it was honestly, pure luck. I had exactly 7 recruitments, which I did. I sent 7 CVs to companies, and one with KPMG Consulting at that time. And I loved it so much, I never went away. So if you do business consulting and you love it, you don't go away. You continue with that for a long time.
Yeah,
That's
we see that. Yeah. I understand. But when I was seeing your, your history, I've seen that you were born in South Africa in a
Mhm.
period, maybe special period,
Yes,
and you
definitely.
lost your father very, very, very early.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. How did it impact you as a person, as a Barbara?
Um, Let me start with the first part. Of course, I grew up during the apartheid era, and being blonde, blue-eyed, and with a white skin, or European skin, people always have the perception, we lived in a castle, and I had like tons of people working for my. It wasn't like that at all. My parents were very down to earth. My father was a nuclear scientist, and he was working for a government agency in South Africa, and when I got into the bus and I was the only European, I would not go around and say, "Oh, I'm something better." So that was, for me, it was actually quite scary when I got to Europe, and the
Mhm.
people were really attacking me because I came from South Africa, not having a traditional background. Let's put it like that. Um, from on the positive side, I was at the German school to be able to learn how to read and write in German. Of course, my parents wanted that, and we were the first school that had colored pupils as well. And I had so many friends, and skin color or creed was never an issue. So we would go to the festivals of Eid, and I was born Roman Catholic, so that wasn't an issue at all. We played tennis against the Jewish school. It wasn't an issue at all. Skin color wasn't an issue. So for me, it was always being very tolerant towards the people and looking at them more from a perspective what they do and not what they say or are supposed to be. Okay, let's put it in inverted commas. So that was really powerful. My husband is also a Cape Colored, so so I have now mixed children, and that was also interesting to understand how the dynamics work in that sense. So for me, that was very enriching, empowering, and never negative. Of course, knowing what happened in the apartheid era, and not everything was perfect, and definitely a lot of things I would not have done personally, but that is the background I came from. Um, my father dying very young, that was actually a few months before I got married to my husband, that impacted me more because first of all, it was very, very sudden, out of the blue. My father and my mother always made everything possible for us from an education point of view and gave us all the skills that we can make the best out of our lives without pampering us. We were never very rich, or we didn't have great cars, but that wasn't important. It was important to have the education and the family life together. And that made me realize how important personal relationships are. Never to waste time, never to be, grumpy in the morning, to always say I love you to your kids. Every time my son now goes out to work, I always say, come home safely. It's really, really important. So I think if you have a role model that is so open, so I could have done anything. If I would have wanted to fly to the moon, my father would have made it possible, if possible. So that is important, and just to have this very, very positive family background. For me, family and friends are the most important things before the profession, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as a mother of two boys, I understand that yeah, the family get the right.
Yes.
And you have to, yeah. How did you manage about, because in business you are great, and
Yes.
so
Y-
how
y-
do you find the balance?
it was interesting when I told my then CEO that I'm pregnant. He reacted really strange, to be honest. He said, "Well, I hope your performance doesn't flatten out." And I said, excuse me? Really? And so, but the only way I could do this was because of my husband. My husband, when he came over from South Africa, because he's also South African, he he went into parentship leave for 1.5 years with each of the sons. That was not only important for me so that I could continue with my job, but it was also important that for the boys to have a father so close is really great. Then my clients were fantastic. The CEO of the Austrian Railway Company, we had a really huge project, and he called me at 6:30 in the morning because he knew my son was then fed and I could speak, and we talked every day at 8 in the evening. And it was absolutely no problem. If he said, "Oh no, Felix is crying, just feed him quickly and then we continue our talk." I mean, it was fantastic to have such an open client relationship where you could manage all of that. Um, there were not always nice things. I mean, the first word that my kids spoke, they spoke to their father. The first step they did with their father. But I mean, otherwise, it's the other way around. I mean, it must also be terrible for a father not to have see the first step. So I just, yeah, that was just part of it. And all the time I spent with my family is always quality time, and then that works. You make a plan. I think there was in my whole career one single meeting where I hadn't realized that the kindergarten was closed. And I had to take my son to this meeting with over 15 managers. And he was sitting at the bottom of the table drawing on a flip chart, and they were feeding him chocolate. And we were doing our meeting. Really, it worked. They were fine. I mean, I didn't
Wow,
do that
should
every day.
exist.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Fine.
that's the only way how it really works. You have to have that support network.
I think it's very important for a woman to, even for for a man, I think it's important. But for a woman, because we are more sensitive, more into details and family, so support is very important. This is something that
Hmm.
we need to remember all the time, and keep saying to others.
Oh, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, my husband's boss, he freaked out. He said, "No, you can't do parent leave." My husband said, "Well, I've got a legal right in Austria to go into parent." "No, we can't do this. We need you in the job." He said, "No, I've got the legal right to do it." So he was actually an icebreaker because he was in the hotel industry, and you can imagine the hotel industry not being there for 1.5 years. And that twice wasn't so easy. No.
Uh, let's speak about business now.
Yes.
What is business transformation? What do you mean when you say business transformation?
Hmm. Well, business transformation, if you put it in a nutshell, anytime you're working in business, you have a lot of influences from the outside and from the inside. So I work with corporates, with big corporates, but I also or family businesses, and I work with solopreneurs, and it affects both a bit different, but it affects both. So just imagine COVID comes along, or you have a digitalization, or a competitor finds a new technique how to produce your product for half of the price. That's like an influence or an impulse where you have to start thinking, do I need to transform my business? Or when you have this idea, somehow my business is not really flourishing. I have sort of this gut feeling that something's changing. That is also an influence, where you say, okay, I need to transform this business to be as successful as I was in the past, or even more successful. So, business transformation includes looking at the right numbers. Sometimes we look at the wrong numbers just because they're easily accessible. It's maybe changing your structures. For example, I had on my heydays, we had over 25 consultants in our business unit at Contrast Management Consulting. And I swore to myself, if I go and go into being an independent consultant, I'll never have more than 10 people. Why? Because I wanted to do my consulting on my own. I wanted to consult and not only acquire projects. And the second is I want to know the people that I work with really, really well. I want to have fun while doing it, not being stressed out the whole time. How do I get business for 25 consultants that cost so much money? So business transformation might also mean a different way of how to do your business. Or it can be very disruptive. I mean, in COVID, when schools suddenly had to go from one day to the next into a completely digitalized way of how to teach scholars, that is also transformation, you know? So transformation for me always has an aspect of all the structures and numbers and how the people do what they do and how that changes.
Yeah, you speak always about value, strategy, and pillar as a pillar of. Yeah, can you tell us about this concept?
That is actually very interesting because there used to be like 20 years ago, everything was going into value and strategy, and we have to define it. And there were huge workshop, you know, like really sequels over half a year, and companies did that. Then they said, the world is changing so quickly, I don't plan anything at all anymore. Nothing. Let's just scrap the strategy.
Yeah.
I believe you have to have the strategy must be clear and your goal must be clear, like the North Star. Okay. I need to know where I want to be in 5 years, in 10 years. The strategies are the way how you get to that North Star. And those might change, you know, and maybe we mustn't define them in total detail all the time because we're just planning like crazy. We should also do business. But you need an idea of how to get there. So, for example, it was it's actually now nearly 3 years ago. 3 years ago, a consultant called me and she said, do you also do interim management? And I said, interim management? No, I've never done that before. But what is it about? And then I got into that. So my North Star was, for me personally, my North Star is to really inspire businesses, to get complicated situations and to sort of simplify them, to simplify their structure, to concentrate and focus on the main work these companies have to do, to get rid of all this extra, oh, we need this and we need that and we need another function and what else, just to really hone in on what your real core business is. So I said, interim actually was a strategy I never looked at. And I did it for a big company, a very, very large company called Ami Blue. I did it for 2.5 years. I was an interim group controller and then also / financial expert for them. Although I never had thought of it before. So this is a typical business transformation without my strategy of really helping companies that need the simplification and really putting my assets putting my assets on the table and helping them. That stayed the same. My strategy changed. And I, for example, never worked with what they have, like you have like pools where they pool and look for experts. I never worked with those either. I've been doing that now for over 2 years. So that for me, that's why strategy is so important. The people, they need this goal. You need to, and the difficult part of it is, honestly, and it is if you as a business owner or if the CEO or the owners of a company have an idea they want to, let's say, produce Coca-Cola, just as an example, you know, maybe the people working in the company are still working on how to produce water, you know, and how to bottle it. They maybe completely on a different level from the timing, and the real leadership quality is to have that strategy, to make it as simple as possible, and then to tell the people, look, I'm going to lead you along the way. You're going to develop with us. Don't be scared. Don't be frightened because there's a transformation happening. We have positions for you. Let's go and work on this together. That is the real beauty. And And it's even better if you've got your whole management team, if you have a big company, if you have a whole management team working on that strategy together, because then it's their baby. It's their North Star.
Yes, I
Yeah,
understand better. Yeah, where
yeah,
we are going, and it
yeah,
make it easy to communicate.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and here we speak about numbers and all business field and all human field and how to, balance or to find a way to cope with that.
Yes. Well,
Mm,
that and the numbers you can easily write, okay, I want 400 million euros turnover. Great. And so much profit. But then you have to say, and how do I do it? And what's hindering me? And the most important part, and that takes the longest, is do I have the right people for this job? And I'm not talking about hiring and firing. Nowadays, it's very difficult to have really good people, and you need to develop them towards that sort of goal. So if, for example, let's say you want to sell online suddenly instead of selling in shops, you need experts for this online business. But that doesn't mean that the shops are irrelevant or what the people did wasn't important. You must sort of transform this know-how into this new way of doing business. And
mhm.
and it takes time. It takes a lot of little steps, but you have to start early to see the success then later. Yeah.
Yeah. So changing need motivated and skilled people. How
Yes.
do we find these people?
It's I've always what I've always done. First of all, in all the companies that I've been, I've always done trainings as well, because I believe that if you train a person, that's where you get the actual questions that are happening maybe in a business that you haven't ever worked in. If you've never worked in pharmaceutical and a pharmaceutical manager suddenly asks a question which you can't really answer, that's how you develop yourself. Okay? So if you do training, you you're putting yourself out there and you open for questions. You don't always have the answer immediately. That's the first thing. Second thing is I always have students, so I will always give them like a into like a just 1 or 2 months working in my company, so they have an idea of what, for example, consulting is about. And it takes time, and it's not always easy. You don't always have great students. But for example, I had a fantastic student now for a month. He was
Mhm.
incredible. I could just tell him, and you could see how he's really soaking up this knowledge. And I think if you have experience, the most important thing is to give that experience to the next person. Never keep it to yourself. You're not great because you have the experience. You're great when you give it to the next person, and they even develop further than you. I've have, for example, up to 10 CEOs or CFOs that used to be my employees. And it's not my doing alone, because I mean they were great on their own, but it's this motivating the people, giving them jobs. And for me, the best example is if you look into the startup scene. If you look at these young guys and women working in a startup scene, they work day and night. They work on weekends. They have fun.
Mhm.
So it's not that there are not motivated people. You must just find the proper fit. This is a position that I need to be filled. Who fits this position best? And how do I
Mhm.
motivate them? And there are people that are motivated if you monitor them very closely, and you have to speak to them like every second day and say, how are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. And there are other people where you say, look, this is a goal. Please work towards that and come in 2 weeks and show me what you worked on. And they love
Mhm.
working like that. So you have to find the proper leadership for the person that you're dealing with. Yeah.
Individualized. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Let's speak now about women in leadership. How you as a woman, what makes you different?
Hmm.
How is your leadership is different?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And go. Go for
I
it.
think, I think, look, I was very lucky. When I started working at KPMG, I got into all these big infrastructure groups. So it was the railway, the air traffic control, the company that was building the roads in Austria, etc. Very manly dominated. So I worked for years without having a single woman sitting in those meetings. If you're like that, you're sort of a bit exotic. You can, with a bit of charm, you can trick them and you can say, look, guys, are we really going to fight about something like this? You are great. Both of you are great, but must we fight about an issue like A or B? You can do that with a little bit of charm. That works because I don't have to prove them that I'm the better man in such a surrounding. And so I was very lucky. And they always accepted me, and you must just stand your ground and say, okay, I've got an opinion and I stand to that opinion, and so on. On the other hand, you have people that are very, very degrading. I had two very, very bad encounters where they were sort of snickering and saying, well, what do you know? And you have no idea. Oh, and why are you so emotional? Now, I'm a very emotional person, but I don't cry very quickly. So I was like, why are they doing this to me? And I mean, I know that I'm right in the sense of the facts that I was talking about. And then I found out, you have to understand, and this is why I also co-founded and agreed to co-found with Gabriela at Up and Change. There is a diversity of people as well. There are people that want to be pushy. There are people that like downgrading people. There are people that love to be very powerful, etc. And I had to really cope with it and understand that these people are also valuable, because in difficult situations they can maybe do things that I wouldn't like to do at all, but you have to find the balance. So I actually had one client, and I never done that before, but I did breath work. I went to a person and I said, I need to calm down. If I go into this meeting, I can already feel my rage coming just sitting next to this person. He drove me crazy, And then I did breath work with this consultant, and he said, okay, and now you go into the meeting and you sit right next to the person. I said, what? I don't want to sit next to the person. I want to sit at the other end of the table. No. You sit right next to the person and you speak to him, and you not being condescending or anything. If he did something great, you say, oh, that's really great. And I sat right next to him. He was like really like shocked. What is she doing here? Then I saw he was blatantly signing other papers, not listening to the meeting. So I said in front of anybody, oh, I see you've got really important papers to sign. Do we need a break? He looked at me like totally shocked, and it was my way of reacting to him. So I think women have a very intuitive feeling of, they can read a room very quickly. And if, for example, in the room somebody is not in a good mood, needs a break, needs a sort of stepping out of the situation, women can do that very, very elegantly. So I love it when women are in leadership. I don't understand why companies don't use them. We've got all the facts that more women are finishing university, have the better education. Women have these skills of communication. So this is something that I, as a company, would definitely look into, to have more women on the team. Yeah, and not only to a certain level, but to the highest level. There's one thing where we are a bit strange. If you would go to a man and say, oh, I've got this great job for you, they would say, oh, yes, I'll do that immediately. They wouldn't even think about it. We women like, will I manage that with my children? Or maybe I need another training. Oh, I don't have the certificate. So we find 10,000 things of how to actually be better, but we don't take that responsibility. So for me, there's also a bunch of women that complain, and say, well, there's too little women in there, but they wouldn't take that next step. And that I actually find that sad, because we are not helping ourselves in that way. Yeah.
I agree totally with you because
Hmm.
it starts from us, right?
Hmm.
And if we don't believe in ourselves, it never change. We
Exactly.
can hardly convince others.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
sometimes,
So,
and sometimes it's just the way you react to the other people,
hmm?
and it's tools and use them.
We had like okay. Can you say
Oh,
it again?
yes,
Mhm.
but this is why I'm working also with Gabi, because I believe that you can learn these skills. It's like if you work in the hospitality industry, the people always say, "Oh, these people are so nice." Well, they trained it. You can learn how to be nice and friendly, and what to say and how to say it to make life easier. And
Mm.
if you have to work on a difficult strategy or a difficult new structuring of a company or whatever, um, it won't always be easy from the content point of view, but you can make it easier of how you work together, and that's why we offer those tools. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. What is the future for you? What do you
My younger son always says, "Mommy, when are you retiring?" Because I'm going to be 55 this year. I said, "Well, honestly, I don't think that quickly." Because I love my work. So the future is very clear. I want to now with this interims mandate, which I had for Army Blue, I realized how much fun it's working internationally, and my sons are getting older, so I have more space to do that. So I really want to work in companies and do projects which are tricky, where you have to have a different skill set, and where I can give my know-how to a lot of other people. So
Mhm.
that's why I also offer as one of my services business sparring to single entrepreneurs or single managers, because I believe you don't have to make the mistakes again and again and again. So you can learn from others, and that is my legacy is to inspire as many people to do a good job, and as many companies to work in a sustainable way. And sustainable for me is not only green, it's sustainable is also how we work together. And if I can do that and I manage that, then it's perfect. And with Up and Change, I mean, I hope we're going to, oh, I'm sure we're going to be a million-euro business soon with these digital products. So we're really working hard on that. And this is a second sort of way of, not only putting your eggs in one basket, but combining all the skills that I
Mhm.
have for different areas. Yeah. So yeah, that's actually my dream.
Wish you all the best. I hope that all your dreams come true very, very soon,
Thank
and
you
then you
so
have the
much.
new dreams. Ale, what if you have to say one piece of advice for the young leaders
Mhm.
nowadays? What would you say?
Okay. The first thing is not to be too superficial. Learn something where you are, which is a future skill which is needed. Yeah. Learn something that you're really passionate about. Why? Because if you do something when you're passionate about it, you will be excellent. And if you're
Mhm.
excellent, the people will come to you. And the second part would be to have an opinion. Nowadays there's so many people that write messages on Twitter or whatever where you don't see who it is, or you can't relate to that. Have an opinion, stick to your opinion, and even if you're sure it's correct and everybody around you says no, it's not,
Mm.
that makes you a leader person, because leaders sometimes have opinions that the others don't see yet, have opinions where the others don't agree yet, but that's the only way how you can help change in leadership in the future.
Yeah. Assume who you are with your opinion and the way
Yes,
you think.
yes,
Yeah, great.
yes,
Great.
yes.
Thank you, Barbara, for all these tips and for sharing with your heart your story and inspiring so many people here by the podcast, from the podcast. So I'm really glad to have you.
Thank you so much. I mean, I was really looking forward to this. And if anybody has questions, please reach out to me over LinkedIn or Instagram, and no problem. And I will gladly answer them at any
We
time.
will put all the links here in underneath the video, so you can click on it
Perfect.
and join Barbara when you want. Voilà. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you so much and have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye
Nice
bye.
rest of the summer.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All the best. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Merci d'avoir écouté cet épisode de Speak Up Rise Up. J'espère qu'il vous a inspiré, fait réfléchir ou simplement donné un peu de courage pour continuer à avancer. Si vous avez aimé cet épisode, n'oubliez pas de vous abonner au podcast pour ne jamais manquer une nouvelle conversation. Vous pouvez également laisser une note ou un commentaire pour partager ce que vous en pensez. Votre retour compte énormément pour moi et pour l'évolution de ce projet. Surtout, parlez-en autour de vous. Ensemble, on peut amplifier les voix et les histoires qui méritent d'être entendues. Pour rester connecté, retrouvez-moi sur Instagram. J'adore lire vos messages et échanger avec vous. On se retrouve très bientôt pour un nouvel épisode. En attendant, souvenez-vous, parlez fort, rêvez grand et ne laissez jamais personne éteindre votre lumière. Au revoir!